And at Origin, our mission is to build a platform that will enable many different decentralized marketplaces all over the world. And the reason we're doing this, we motivate ourselves with 4 major whys, 2 of which are on the financial incentive side, and 2 of which are on the access to goods and services side. So you think about it, like there are many marketplaces today that already exist, and they're functioning quite well, whether that's something like a Grab taxi or an Airbnb or Uber, or even something like Craigslist, which started in 1995. So why is it that decentralized marketplaces in the future would be better than the centralized marketplaces that exist today? These 4 reasons. So with a decentralized marketplace, you can actually remove the transaction fees that are charged by these marketplace operators. So in some cases, it may be as low as 10%. In other cases, such as wag.com, which is a dog sitting site, transaction fees go up to as high as 40%. That's absolutely ridiculous. You're also able to redistribute value when you have these decentralized marketplaces. The first 100 drivers on Uber, the first 100 hosts on Airbnb, they're not able to profit in the same way as the early shareholders, the founders, the early employees, the venture capitalists. Today, we see Airbnb and Uber starting to experiment with new models to see if they can offer equity to their 1099 contractors. But we see this as kind of too little too late. Most of that value appreciation has already happened starting from a decade ago. Now instead, with Origin, we can build a platform that rewards these stakeholders from day one. And if they actually help bring value to the system, bring liquidity in terms of the supply side, bring demand on the buy side, then they should be rewarded. On the access to goods and services side, there's also 2 things that we point to. So number 1 is promoting free and open commerce. There are many instances all over the world where different types of services are being banned, are being censored. And while we think that every country has a right to its local laws, we also want to be able to encourage buyers and sellers to do the type of business that they see fit. And finally, we have a very long-term mission to serve the unbanked. There are 2 billion people in the world right now that don't have credit cards, that don't have WeChat Pay or Alipay. And frankly, they're trading with each other either with fiat currency or sometimes even barter. Very, very inefficient system, and it means that oftentimes they're stuck in poverty. But with the advent of cryptocurrencies, as well as cheap Android phones, thanks to our friends at Google, more and more people are getting connected online. And this is also an opportunity where they can leapfrog existing broken financial systems and start transacting on the digital internet of tomorrow. And to do so, they're going to need marketplaces. They're going to need places to meet and buy and sell, and that's where we come in. So just to recap, Origin will enable decentralized marketplaces all over the world in many different categories. So what are we actually building on the blockchain and with other distributed technologies, and why does it matter? Our platform is composed of 3 different layers. The most foundational layer is the open source protocol. So these are smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain, as well as our usage of IPFS, the Interplanetary File System. These are purely distributed technologies, meaning anyone can run nodes, meaning we can do things in a totally decentralized way. One step up on the stack is our developer libraries. Our goal is to make it super, super easy for any aspiring marketplace operator or entrepreneur to get started with their own Origin marketplace. In order to do that, you have to make it really, really easy for them to use. Today's developer toolset and business toolset on Ethereum is frankly very, very challenging. Even as very, very seasoned software engineers and operators, it's very, very difficult technology to bring. So our developer libraries are going to serve as an intermediary layer, built in JavaScript, which means that any basic, potentially new software engineer will have the ability to interact with our open source protocols. JavaScript is the single most popular programming language across the world right now, oftentimes the first language that new web developers learn when they begin the process. Finally, at the top of the stack, we have our application layer. We're dealing in a world where we're breaking some of the old rules and old traditions. So what does it mean to actually manage your own cryptocurrencies, your own private keys? What does it mean to actually not use a traditional phone number or an email address as part of your account process? And because there are all these new, interesting user experience paradigms, we wanted to solve it and provide examples so that our third-party partners will be able to copy us and basically create more and more marketplaces over time. All right, so many people here and across the world have heard many pitches from blockchain companies for the past 12, 18 months. Everyone's promising the world And frankly, very, very few companies have delivered much of anything. We're proud to count ourselves amongst the few, to be consistently shipping code and meeting our deadlines. So very pleased to announce that about a month ago, we launched what we call mainnet beta. This is the first version of our platform onto the Ethereum blockchain and IPFS, and it actually works. So it's going to be slower, it's going to be more expensive, it's not going to be fully optimized as a end user application, but it does allow buyers and sellers to be on the blockchain, to transact with Ethereum, and actually complete that transaction. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of what I'm talking about right now. Here you'll see a fairly simple user interface. Think of it almost as a prettier version of Craigslist. But it's just a marketplace where buyers and sellers are able to look at different services. And right now, as myself, as Matt, I'm a buyer browsing around. And so it happens to turn out that my iPhone is damaged, and I was thinking about getting a new phone anyways. So this iPhone XS, conveniently sold by our good friend Melody, appears quite attractive. And with today's ETH prices at sub $200, this is definitely a bargain. Again, I just want to stress that we wanted to make this look very, very similar to a traditional application, because users are not going to care that it's decentralized. You're going to care that it's easy to use, it solves our problems, and it actually delivers additional value. And additional value that we're talking about in this particular case is that Melody and I will be able to transact without any transaction fees. This intermediary DApp in the middle is not going to be taking a 10-20% cut. So while I'm doing this, I realized that I actually want to add a little bit more information to my profile so that Melody will trust me as the counterparty of this purchase. And we've modeled this pretty similarly to how things work in the centralized world in terms of being able to add in some profile information, a profile photo, as well as things like verify your phone number. And so what we're trying to do here is borrow many of the models that existing applications are using to allow these users with their Ethereum wallets to verify their identities and create their reputations. But these identities, we're using this thing called ERC-725, are actually owned by the user. So it's not going up to a centralized server that's owned by Google or Facebook. This information is under the user's control, and they have ultimate user agency as to how and when they share it with other parties. And so, I've done this correctly. I can now publish my profile to the Ethereum blockchain. This not being the public blockchain, this is a local blockchain I'm running on my computer. It'll demonstrate to you that I've very easily created a buyer profile. Now I'm going to go back to that listing and put an offer for this purchase. So I want to buy this iPhone XS, and at today's ETH prices, that's $546. There's actually a bit of a discount if you buy retail. It's about $1,000 US right now. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually switching to another browser. And I'm going to now be Melody. Let me just confirm that I'm actually Melody. So I'm Melody. And now I should be able to see that I have a pending offer from Matthew Liu, the buyer. I'll receive a notification. The cool thing is all this stuff is largely happening on the blockchain. We're using basically blockchain events to pull these interactions out of the chain and then be able to display them to the user. I can also message between the two parties. So let me switch back to Matt. And one of our star engineers, his name is Yupan. He was the co-founder of PayPal, first engineer at YouTube, as well as founder of a couple of his own startups, joined our team recently. And in a matter of weeks, he actually prototyped a way to do decentralized messaging, which is what I'm showing right now, that is secure, that is audible, that is decentralized, meaning that rather than using something like Facebook or using something like Google Hangouts, where these centralized servers keep all your data, this stuff is being distributed all over the web. And it's totally secure, it's encrypted so that both sides, only those two sides can see it, unless one of the sides decides to reveal it, let's say for arbitration or something like that. Let's see if it actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and send Melody a message now. So this message has gone out. And now on the seller side, I'm going to go switch back to Melody. And if my machine is running properly, I got a message from that. Cool. So that might look quite rudimentary, and some of you may actually think, what's so impressive about all that? That looks like any other web application, doesn't look that special. Why do I even care? The reason that you should care is that this is the first step that will allow truly peer-to-peer commerce. So commerce that is actually between two individuals selling any different types of good or service. So imagine if you are a tutor, or you're a website designer, or you're a maid. You could potentially now fulfill your business in the next few years without requiring a website like 99 Designs or Handy. Imagine if you are a power seller on eBay or Amazon. Imagine being able to sell without those companies taking such large transaction fees just to use their platforms. This is the world that we're going after, and we're trying to start from a place where it looks familiar to buyers and sellers. It looks pretty easy to begin using the interface. But what we're really hoping to do is build the foundation that will allow for this compounded movement where things go truly peer-to-peer. And we start chipping away at these regional monopolies that are currently managing these marketplaces. That was our initial version.
So how do you ensure that the contract is open?
Yeah, can we actually answer that after we finish the presentation? So the rest of the product roadmap in the short term, so this quarter we're showing up some of our features, and next quarter, Q1 of 2019, is when we're going to have our first third-party marketplace operators running on top of our platform and our protocols. Our team is mostly based in San Francisco, but we have some locals as well. Here's Melody and Anna from Singapore. We have an engineer in New Zealand, as well as folks in New York and Boulder. One of the things we're most blessed about is the strength of our team. We have, again, one of the ex-PayPal founders, multiple early engineers at YouTube, where I started out my career, folks that have been at Google and other top Silicon Valley startups, and many, many entrepreneurs amongst this group. And on top of our core team, we've also had an extended team of over 50 open source contributors that are building this code base with us right now. One of the most exciting things about working on Origin is that because the incentives are aligned, because everything is open, anyone can contribute from anywhere else in the world. And so we invite people that are in the audience who might be interested in what we're doing, come check us out, come check out our GitHub, as well as check out our application. Our application that I just showed you is running live on the Ethereum mainnet at dApp.originprotocol.com. If you want to learn more about what we're doing, feel free to come talk to me or visit some of our social channels. You can email me directly, matt@originprotocol.com. But also, we have other members of the team. If you guys can raise your hands, we have Melody as well as Anna that are happy to answer your questions about how the platform is being built and how we're building out our community all over the United States and, of course, Asia. Thank you so much. Sure. Questions?
Yeah, so how do you ensure that these contracts are overnight? So one of the value is centralized base, this is like kind of act as an escrow. Now in this case,
Yeah, so I think I know where you're jumping to. So how can you develop trust in the system, right, between buyers and sellers?
Not that. I ordered a cell phone from you.
Yeah.
So what if like you gave me a brick instead of a cell phone?
Yeah. So we actually have already built into our protocols a way to do arbitration. And to start, we are actually going to run a centralized origin arbitration center just for our application. For third-party applications, they'll have the option of running their own arbitration service. Sometimes there might be insurance involved. Over the long term, we hope that some of the work in decentralized arbitration will come to fruition, which allows both sides to present cases as to what actually happened, and then jurors to determine what happened. But one key thing to note is that in this transaction flow, let's say you purchase something from me, that money is first escrowed. It's not sent directly to me until you have authorized the release of that. And so if you haven't authorized the release and I say, hey, I need to get my money, that's when we go to an arbitrator and say, here's what he did, here's what I did, who should get paid, and what.
So currently you will Ether, like if I understood.
Currently the smart contract for that transaction will hold the Ether in escrow.
Okay.
We as a project are not holding Ether.
So what I'm trying to understand is the difference between the base origin protocol and any other third-party contract. Say, so what do the origin smart contract do? And if I'm running an application above the origin protocol, what contract I do?
Yeah, so we have what's called the marketplace contract as one of the core contracts for Origin. We also have an identity contract, and of course we have our token contract. There's a couple of different pieces that, it gets quite technical, so you may want to look at this deeper. But the marketplace contract is able to have buyers and sellers enter into a transaction with the funds being escrowed within that marketplace contract. That marketplace contract is designed by us and put out in the world by us, but other people can actually enact that contract. So, two individuals in the back could actually get into a transaction without Origin not being a part of it at all.
Just a question about the technical infrastructure. You said that you're using Ethereum.
Correct.
Is it planned in the future that you keep using Ethereum, or you want to build your own blockchain infrastructure?
Okay, so last question. Currently we are on Ethereum. Ethereum was the best smart contract public blockchain available when we started working on things. Many people ask us if we'll stick with Ethereum or we're going to build our own blockchain or switch to the high TPS blockchain. What I'll say to you is Ethereum is working as it's working as it should right now. There are clearly some scalability issues that projects will start running into, but before then there are a lot of other issues we have to work out first, right? No one is actually using blockchains for decentralized applications, and so the scalability issue is actually a wall that no one is hitting yet. So let's figure out how to get some users, let's get some developers building some useful stuff. And once those problems are solved and there's wider adoption, I think the scalability thing will fall into place. It can come in many different flavors. So we may or may not switch blockchains, we may or may not build our own, but for now, Ethereum serves purposes. I think they're cutting me off, but happy to speak with folks thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. There will be more time for questions right after this as well. At the end, as well as right at the beginning of the next session, we'll have a bit of free time for networking. For our next session, we'll